Hello and welcome to AWCI's Convention and Intex Expo Reconstructed. Today's solution showcase is MOFFETT truck-mounted forklift features. I am Anne-Marie Salvatelli, AWCI's Director of Education, and I will be your host for today's presentation. Before we start, a few housekeeping items. All attendees should be on mute during today's presentation. However, we ask that you please mute your phones or computer microphones as well to ensure that we keep a clear line for our presenter. Should you have a question at any time during the broadcast today, please submit it using the question box in your GoToWebinar dashboard. We will have a brief Q&A at the end of our presentation. We have several handouts for today's showcase solutions, so you can download the 3 PDFs in the handouts tab on the dashboard. Today's presenter is Tony Danicki, Product Manager, Truck-Mounted Forklifts at Hiab USA Incorporated. Tony has been in the industry for just over 5 years, but is no stranger to heavy equipment. Previous to his role at Hiab, Tony spent over 10 years in the aviation industry as an aircraft technician and product manager. As different as they sound in the industries are similar. His passion included customer satisfaction and innovation. So welcome, Tony, and please take it away.
Thank you, Anne-Marie, and thank you to everybody who is attending today. We're very excited to show you what we've created and developed for your industry, specifically with our MOFFETT truck-mounted forklift. So a little bit, again, my name is Tony Danicki, product manager with Hiab USA, dedicated to our truck-mounted forklift line. In the United States, Hiab offers several different products to several different industries. One being our namesake, which is the Hiab articulated crane, very popular in the roofing and the drywall world. The next is the MOFFETT truck-mounted forklift, which we're going to be discussing today. We also offer the Princeton truck-mounted forklift, the Johnsred and log lift loader and material handler, and then quite new to our portfolio in the last couple of years is the multi-lift hook and skip loader. So today, talking about drywall specifically, which is what I understand this this audience to really appreciate. In talking about drywall and talking about the delivery challenges. And really what challenges have really driven us to develop technology to solve those challenges. The first challenge that we all have experience with is overhead obstructions. So as we're delivering drywall to whether it be a residential site or a commercial site, those are certainly a factor. Power lines, parking garages, residential garages, any sort of low overhang is certainly a challenge. Trees are another one that is a challenge. Narrow roadways, not only getting to your delivery site, but also setting up your equipment to make your delivery. We all know that boom truck deliveries are the most stable and the safest when the stabilizers are fully deployed, and narrow roadways, narrow alleyways, narrow driveways don't always allow us to do that. Property damage is also another challenge that I'm sure everybody's familiar with. Flower beds or eaves, fences, do the stabilizers punch through the asphalt driveway or the concrete? That's certainly something that we all deal with. Another challenge is product placement requirements. So, does the contractor want the drywall delivered into a garage because it's going to be raining all week, or because there's a theft concern? Do they want the load around the back side of the home or the back side of the building? Maybe the only place to take the drywall into the house is through the slider door that's off of the deck. So, a lot of times using a boom truck to get that product to the back side of the house is quite challenging. Boom truck operators, that's kind of a big challenge really in the industry, and more so today than it really ever has been. finding those qualified operators, and then making sure they're trained up to the standards of the industry, and the expenses that go along with that training. And then the biggest challenge that we're all faced with really has to do with safety, manual handling, cart usage. A lot of times the conditions aren't good enough for the cart to be pushed smoothly along. Job site setup is certainly a challenge. Again, that full stabilizer deployment on your boom truck, cone placement, caution tape setup. A lot of companies and customers have rules for how that job site is set up to ensure that maximum safety is present at all times. And then insurance is certainly a challenge. If we're able to offer a safer solution to a delivery, or offer a safer delivery period, do the insurance companies compensate for that? And that could certainly be a factor. So what are our solutions? What is the solution that we're here to talk about today? The solution that we're here to talk about today is what we call our M9 55.4 LP machine, which is low profile. So this machine was designed specifically for the drywall application. It offers a low profile delivery method. So the machine has an 81-inch overall height, even when lifting a lift of drywall, or as you see in the picture on the right-hand side, 2 lifts of drywall in that case. So it has 48 inches of free lift, and free lift essentially means that you can lift the forks 48 inches off the ground without the top of the mast moving at all. So it maintains that 81-inch overall height with the forks 48 inches off the ground. So even though it does have an 81-inch overall height, the mast still can reach up to a full 12 feet of lift height. So if you have 4 or 5 lifts of drywall on your delivery truck, the forks will certainly get up to that top lift and be able to lift it right off the truck and make your delivery. What's different about this machine is we've incorporated our 4-way system. 4-way essentially means that you can travel 4 ways. So you can go forward, you can go backwards, and now you can go left and you can go right, similar to what you see here in this picture. So instead of, in this picture here, you see, 2 lifts of, looks like 16-foot board. So instead of taking up 16 feet of space when you're carrying these 2 lifts, you engage your 4-way mode, and now you can, this forklift will travel sideways and take up a lot less room. In fact, empty with 48-inch forks, this machine in 4-way mode comes in at 113 inches. So which is just a bit less than 10 feet of space. So you add a load on there, and it may add a couple inches, but still you're around 10 feet of space. Perfect for narrow openings, those narrow alleyways or narrow roadways or narrow driveways that we talked about on the last slide, and how challenging they can be, especially with a boom truck operation. The fact that your stabilizers need to be fully deployed for a stable delivery with a boom truck is a challenge, and certainly a challenge that this machine can resolve. With this machine, no issues with power lines, so that overhead obstruction challenge is ticked off. I've seen tons of homes where you can't pull in the driveway without going under a set of power lines, and those power lines are relatively low in the grand scheme of things. With this machine, you can deliver as much drywall as you want right up that driveway with no issues with those power lines. It can access places boom trucks simply cannot. So for a couple reasons, the width is one of them. The weight of the machine as compared to a boom truck allows this unit to go places where a boom truck cannot. And then also the fact that it's 3-wheel drive. So this is an all-terrain forklift. Mud, snow, sand, not a problem for this machine. It is, again, 3-wheel drive and can traverse pretty much anything. So again, can access places boom trucks cannot. Minimal certification required to operate this machine. So all it requires is your OSHA employer forklift certification, similar to that of a counterbalance forklift. So no NCCCO certification required, like you would with a boom truck operator. Another option that we offer that is a solution to the market, in the drywall market specifically, is what we're calling our drywall tilter forks. Now in the bottom picture here, you see the forks are flipped up. Think of the hydraulic forks on a boom truck. We've taken that same technology and concept and integrated it into our truck mounted forklift here. So what this does is it'll flip a whole lift of drywall up on end and make it so one person can slide a sheet of drywall off onto a cart, or into the home or into the building. No more do you need two people flipping the drywall off the forks onto a cart. So it takes it down to a single person operation. So where do we use this machine? It's perfect to offload full trailers at a job site without the need for a boom truck. So this will deliver as much drywall as you feed it. Essentially what we see is, a trailer or a straight truck delivering the first load with this MOFFETT on it, and then it acts as a feeder, essentially. So multiple tractor trailers in a commercial application will come and feed the MOFFETT, and the MOFFETT will do the deliveries. It's perfect for parking garage access. So with that 81-inch overall height, it can clear a 7-foot parking garage. Actually 6'9" is what 81 inches equates to. So most parking garages it can go into. We know with a lot of the high-rise apartment buildings and commercial buildings, the only way to get the drywall up to the higher floors is through a freight elevator, and typically those freight elevators are only accessible through the parking structures. So getting the material into those parking structures has been quite a challenge in the past. With this machine, it's not an issue. Again, residential garage access. If the contractor wants to store the board inside the garage in a residential job, due to inclement weather, whether it's snow or rain, and again, if there's a theft concern, which job sites seem to be a hot spot for theft. If they require access to the rear of the building, again, that slider door, or just simply putting the material where your customer wants it. That's certainly a differentiator between you and your competitors. If you can provide that delivery exactly where your customer wants it, they're probably going to do business with you. The ability to park the truck or the trailer away from the required delivery point. So there's a lot of deliveries where you can't get a boom truck or even any sort of delivery truck right up next to where you're doing the delivery. With the MOFFETT, you're able to park the truck where it's convenient. It could be a quarter mile up the road. It could be the next block over. It can be, on the only paved surface that's on that job site. Offload the MOFFETT and pick your load and run the MOFFETT down the street a quarter mile if you have to. The MOFFETT is equipped with a slow-moving vehicle triangle, so it is able to be operated on the road legally. Again, all-terrain capabilities, mud, snow, sand. Again, not a concern for this machine, being all-wheel drive, having aggressive tire tread on it to make that terrain traversable. Excuse me. Less property damage because it is such a smaller delivery method. You're able to maneuver this machine easier than you would a boom truck or any other sort of delivery device that you may use. Visibility is phenomenal on these machines, so you can see exactly where both wheels are, where your rear wheel is. You're not going to run over the the customer's edging stones or flower beds by mistake. It's very maneuverable. It's perfect for long load handling, whether that's drywall, obviously, steel studs, lumber, makes those narrow openings and alleyways easy to travel down with a long load. So a bit into the design of this machine. This machine actually isn't new to the market. We offered it several years ago and phased it out. I believe it was 5 or 6 years ago. The demand since then was kind of cyclical, but in the last 2 or 3 years, really high demand from our customer base. Everyone's been asking for this machine, so we took the opportunity to start from the ground up essentially and rebuild this machine with some of our new technologies. So the first thing I want to talk about is our interlocking seat belt. Now this ties into our operator safety systems. So what that means is this machine cannot be driven unless the seat belt is fastened. So it ties to our parking brake. The parking brake cannot be released unless the seat belt is fastened. To take it one step further, we've added what we call our seat belt safety system. What that does is it incorporates a seat presence indicator and a simple logic circuit that's looking for a seat presence prior to a seat belt fasten. If the machine does not see it happen in that sequence, an audible alarm is triggered at that point. It's a real in-your-face alarm that you're going to know that something is incorrect. Additionally, we've tied the side door, which you can see my little pointer here, the side door into that system as well. So if that side door is left in the up position, again, it ties into that safety system and it triggers an intermittent audible alarm to let the operator and everybody around them know that the side door is left open. LED lighting all the way around. So our work lights are LED, our beacon is LED, our transport lights are LED. Every light on this machine is an LED. So that, very low power usage, very low heat buildup, and maximum life on those components. Lower and go, which is a feature of our mounting system. Once the machine is mounted up onto the back of the truck and the transport chains are connected to the rear sill of the truck, the operator typically would have to climb back up into the machine to relax the hydraulics and put tension on those transport chains. The lower and go, as you see here in this cutout, is a switch on the side of the machine that relaxes the hydraulics from the ground. So the operator simply reaches up, hits this toggle switch, and bleeds off all the hydraulic pressure in the mast of the machine so it properly sits in the mounting kit. Our overhead guard is ROPS and FOP certified, which is a rollover protection system and falling object protection system. So it is certified by ANSI. And we fitted it with a clear poly weather guard so the operator doesn't get rained on, or if any debris is falling, it doesn't hit the operator, but it is clear so they can see their lift when the forks are above the overhead guard. This machine has a tilting steering wheel, and this is actually the only model range that has a tilting steering wheel. So it allows for maximum operator comfort and allows for full adjustability in that regard. So the seat's able to be slid back and forth and the steering wheel is able to be tilted back and forth as well. This machine, like all of our four-way machines, is fitted with fold down load rest arms. So you can see them in these images here. What these do is allow the load to be placed on these load rest arms when you're traveling. So it offers a wider footprint and a more stable footprint for the load that you are lifting. We use the four-way swivels off of our M8 machine, which is our bread and butter machine. So the interchangeability is great in that regard. we did that for our parts inventory purposes, and just the overall strength of the four-way, the M8 four-way swivels is superior and certainly good enough for this machine. This machine's fitted with our Tier 4 final engine, which is a Kohler KDI engine. This is a diesel engine, 56 horsepower. And what's important to note about this engine is that there's no DPF filter at all, and no DEF fluid required. So even though it is Tier 4 final, these two components are not required to meet those emission standards of the EPA. We do this by a high pressure fuel system, an EGR, and a DOC, which is essentially a high heat catalytic converter. And it gets those emission levels where we need them to be without DPF or DEF. The engine is completely ECU controlled and monitored. It actually has a lot of functionality, but one thing it does is it monitors your external ambient temperature, and limits your throttle input based on that. So what that means is if it's -5 degrees outside, the operator goes in, fires the engine up. It's not going to let that operator give it throttle input until that turbo sees adequate oil pressure to ensure that you don't damage the turbo by firing it up and taking off right away. There's no glow plugs on this diesel engine. It's all ECU controlled. The starting procedure is ECU controlled. It uses a grid heater system that heats up your intake air prior to it going into the intake manifold, which allows for maximum fuel atomization. This is a throttle by wire engine, so your throttle pedal is electronic. It goes through your ECU and then sends a signal off to your engine at that point. On this machine, sorry, I thought there was a question that came in. On this machine, we've integrated our digital display, which is brand new to our MOFFETT model offering. On this display, it shows the operator a lot of things in a very intuitive fashion. So it shows your fuel level, the RPM of the engine, your battery voltage, engine oil pressure, hydraulic oil temperature, coolant temp, coolant levels, engine hours, pretty much anything that you or a technician need to know about the machine immediately. It also offers some diagnostic information as well. So if code that comes up from your engine, it'll display your fault code on this screen, and from the technician's standpoint, allow the technician to start the troubleshooting process from this screen without the need to plug in any sort of diagnostic software. Also on this machine, and all of our MOFFETT models manufactured in 2020, this machine and all those units are fitted with our High Connect system. So this allows not only HIAB, but also the customer to see machine diagnostics and GPS location data. I'll talk a little bit about that here in the next couple of slides. So High Connect, like I mentioned, is a connected service. It's cloud-based, so essentially the machine communicates with the cloud. All the data from that machine is stored in the cloud and then accessed by a user portal. It does share real-time data about equipment operation and condition via that web portal, and then several reports can be created from that portal. This helps the customer monitor productivity. Is the equipment being utilized enough or too much? The service needs, so you're able to see your service schedules if you're set up with a maintenance plan, and allow you to minimize your unplanned downtime and help you schedule your service. There's a safety component of it as well. So you're out there, you're able to see what your machine's out there doing, and what your operator is doing correctly and incorrectly in some cases. And then it is also able to monitor operator performance. So, do you have the best operators on your equipment? And it it points out areas that they may need to be trained on. Are they continually overloading the machine? Are they operating it on inclines that beyond the gradability of the machine, etc. So on the GPS side of things, it does offer today asset tracking and utilization. So in this photo here, you can see a red line. This is the route that the truck with the MOFFETT on the back took throughout the day. Additionally, it will show you a different color line for the route taken when the machine was dismounted from the truck, so under its own engine power. So you can zoom in real tight, and you can see exactly where that machine traveled on that job site. So if you get a customer calling and saying, you know, your operator delivered a lifted drywall around the backside of my house, but when he did that, he tore up my yard and the neighbor's yard, or whatever it may be, you can zoom in very close to where the delivery happened and look exactly where that machine traveled. And you can see, you know, okay, yeah, they did go around the backside of the house, but they didn't go on the side that the customer said that, you know, they damaged. They went around the other side, or whatever it may be. So you're able to really dive down deep and see exactly what your operators are doing. It does help you with route optimization. So you can see your entire fleet in one map. You can see are your trucks passing one another on the road. Can you do some work with route optimization to ensure that you're using your assets efficiently? And then it does pinpoint and screen grab events and faults from a GPS location standpoint. So not only do you know that you had, say, a high coolant temp warning, you know exactly where and what they were doing when that high coolant temp warning popped into the system. So, you know, we are continuing to develop this system every day. And in the future, we're attempting to develop technology to tie into a delivery confirmation piece. So you'll get an alert, or your customer will get an alert. However, you know, we set it up where they know exactly when their product was delivered, and that'll be based on obviously the GPS location of the equipment, but also the mast functions and what the machine's actually doing. So there's a sequence of mast functions and component functions that are required to do a technical delivery, and the machine will know that and be able to communicate it back through High Connect using this technology. And then tying in delivery errors as well, so operational errors. Again, that goes back to you know, inclines, or not properly using the stabilizers, or overloading the machine, things like that. On the data side of things, we're able to monitor quite a bit. Today, we're able to transmit to the portal service history and reminders, and that's done through our internal ERP system. Warning notification on your engine parameters. So was there a fault that popped up from your engine? You're able to monitor your hours of the machine, both idle hours and power usage, and overall engine hours, fuel usage, and then you can pull trend reports on any of those data points as well to see what your machine's doing over a period of time. In the future, we'll be developing the product even more to pull more detailed engine performance data. There's a lot of data points that come off of that Kohler engine. So we're looking into just which ones are relevant really for our customers. You can pull as much data as you want, but until you present it in a way that's valuable to your customer, it doesn't really matter. So that's what we're working through right now, is how to build that value for you. We are looking at an operator notification system. So not only telling the fleet manager or the company owner that's looking at the portal on their computer what's going on with the machine, but also notifying the operator that's on the machine. So telling them that they're making an error right then and there to prevent anything more serious from happening. If they're operating on a grade that's beyond the rated gradability of the machine, it's important to let that operator know right now so they can correct that before it becomes an issue, not only just tell the fleet manager. So also tying in shock loading. So did something hit the machine? Did the machine drive off of a loading dock? Whatever it may be, those are important things to capture and to communicate. Also grade and angle. Again, looking at the grade that the machine's operating on and letting the operator know. The machines are all rated at 30% gradability, but you know, what does that look like in a real world? You don't know until it's too late in most cases. So letting the operator know what grade they're operating on is going to be a way for that operator to understand their machine even more. And then also tying in our safety system, so that seatbelt and side door safety system that we were just talking about a couple slides ago, tie that into the High Connect system as well, where, you know, if that operator is not wearing their seatbelt properly or they're driving with their side door open, it communicates that back to the portal and then logs it. And then MLI monitoring. So MLI is a system that we're working on that essentially is, think of overload protection, but for a forklift. I won't go down a rabbit hole with this because this is kind of new technology that we're working on. But essentially what it's doing is it's monitoring the weight that you have on the forks and then monitoring the configuration of the machine. So is the mast retracted? Is it extended? Are the stabilizers deployed or are they not deployed? So it really gives the operator and it will give the fleet manager, whoever is doing the portal, a really good understanding of exactly what that machine's doing and if that operator is operating that machine properly. Sorry. You know, I shared with you the machine that we've developed. I shared the challenges that you know you're faced with in the industry and what our solutions are with this machine. But what I want to share a little bit more about is exactly who we are, who is HIAB USA, and what can we offer to you other than a solution for your specific challenge. We can offer you direct sales. So we are completely factory direct. We do not work with dealers for the majority of our equipment. We offer direct service. So we have 150 factory trained remote technicians and 28 branches that are full of factory trained technicians for your service. So there's no one better to work on our equipment than us. We know the equipment better than anybody can. We do have in-house engineering, which we do all of our truck layouts, whether it be loader crane installations, multi-lift installations, truck mounted forklift mounting kits, and sales layouts, or any sort of modification that may be required to your machine or your truck or your boom. We do all that engineering in-house. We do also offer in-house technical support. So that's not only to support our technicians in the field, but also to support our customers that may have technical issues that they're trying to resolve themselves, and that's available to you. We do offer, do have a regional distribution center for our parts network. So our facility in Indianapolis, Indiana supplies all of North America with parts. So all of our shops, all of our customers are supplied from Indianapolis. This is a 43,000 square foot facility, and they stock around 16,000 individual SKUs and have a 95% fill rate. So, you know, that's pretty good. We can ship from there until 9 p.m. So if you place an order at 7 p.m., we'll have it on your front step the next morning. The 9 p.m. ship till time really serves the West Coast as well. So if the West Coast can get an order in by 5 p.m., we can have it on their doorstep the next morning. So if there's anything that you guys need, questions, if you want to quote on one of these M9 machines, please contact us at the number that we have here. We'll get you directed to the proper sales rep. And I guess at this time, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Hey, Tony, it's Anne Marie. We do have a couple questions.
Sure.
First one is, what type of truck or trailer is required to utilize the M9 4W?
That's a good question. So really, we can adapt most trucks or trailers to accept this machine. The machine comes in about about 7,600 pounds or so. So we'd certainly work with our engineering department to configure your straight truck or your tractor trailer. Work with you on what type of payloads are required, what type of deck space, what states you're operating in. We can pretty much adapt any truck to accept this machine.
Okay, perfect. There's a couple more questions, but I just wanted to call out to attendees. Again, we have 3 handouts available to you. So if you want, just click on those PDFs and start downloading them as we read through the next few questions. Are there different tire options available, Tony?
There are. So on the 4-way machine here, the front 2 tires are skid steer style tires, and we fit those as standard. And really, these tires the front tires are essentially required for this machine because the way that the machine transitions from standard mode into 4-way mode and the front wheels turn themselves in. The skid steer tires are required to essentially scrub when they're moving from standard mode to 4-way mode. I'm making the motions with my hands. I know you guys can't see me, but it helps me visualize it. So the skid steer tires are required on the front for that purpose, so it doesn't tear the tire up, and also so it doesn't tear the pavement up or the grass up that the machine's sitting on when moving from one mode to the other. But the rear tire, we are able to accommodate any other tread style that the customer wants. So turf tire, tractor grip tire for maximum terrain ability, all the way up to maybe a 12-ply industrial tire for high wear life. So we do certainly have some different options for tires on these machines.
Okay, and 2 more questions. First one is, when can we expect this unit to be introduced into the market?
Yeah, that's excellent. So we're able to take orders for them today. And you actually, the people on this call are the first ones essentially hearing about this machine. This is our external launch officially. So we are able to take orders today, and we're looking for an early Q4 delivery into the US this year. So place the order today. We can get you the machine by the end of the year. That's no issue at all.
Thank you. Last question I see is, we have an older version of this model in our fleet. What is different about this one?
Yeah, great question. Like I mentioned before, this isn't essentially a brand new model to the market. It isn't a brand new solution to the market, but we did start from the ground up and introduced a lot of our technologies that I chatted about a couple slides back. So the biggest difference between this model and the legacy one is the engine. So this unit has the Kohler Tier 4 final engine. It's a fantastic engine, ECU controlled, and it offers us the ability to really monitor what's going on in that engine and on that machine using High Connect. High Connect, again, is our telematics system that we just chatted about. So that's a big technology boost over the previous version. Also, our operator safety systems are a difference between this machine and the legacy machine. So our seatbelt safety system, our side door safety system, those are certainly safety technology improvements over the last ones. And then we made some various minor tweaks as well. The clear overhead guard that wasn't a reality on the old machine. LED lighting on this machine. And then just some of the other minor tweaks and improvements that we've made across our entire product portfolio, we've made in a part of this machine as well.
Okay. And two more just came in. Will we ever be able to mount the machine with tilter fork?
Yeah, so that's a good question, and that's a question that comes up often. Just to explain, maybe where that question came from. When you fit this machine with the drywall tilter fork, you are not able to support the machine during the mounting and dismounting process on that fork. So that fork attachment actually has to be removed prior to mounting or dismounting this machine on the back of the truck. Where that becomes challenging is with deck space. So if you're hauling this machine with the drywall attachment to a job site with a full load of drywall on your truck, you lose about 9 inches of the rear space on your deck. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it can make the difference between carrying a full load versus a load that's maybe down 4 lifts or 6 lifts at that point. So yeah, that's certainly something that we're conscious of, and something that we're developing as we go to be able to figure out a way to do that. So I guess the answer to that question is maybe, and we're certainly working on it.
Okay. Is there a lifting height limit in 4-way mode, for example, to lift over privacy fences in a 4-way mode?
Right, yeah. So some of our other 4-way machines with 12-foot masts are mast height limited to 10 feet. And that really has to do with stability when you're in 4-way mode. On this machine, and because it has a larger wheelbase than most of our machines do, there is no limitation on lift height when you're in 4-way mode. So you do get your full 12 feet of lift height in 4-way. Now, I'll say that with an asterisk. You never want to travel with a lifted load. You always want to keep the low as low as possible, and as back as far as possible when you're traveling.
And can you identify if a unit has high connect or not?
We certainly can. We can tell by the serial number, but for the customer, the easiest way to tell is looking for the antenna. So on this model, the antenna will be mounted right near your air filter, which is an external component on this machine. Actually, let me see if I can go back to the slides that show the drawing of the machine here. Yeah, so here you can see the external air filter, and you can kind of just see it down back behind here, but this is actually the high connect antenna, this little disc. It's about a 6-inch disc, and you might be able to see it here in this picture as well. But that will be your high connect antenna, and that's the easiest way for a customer to tell if their machine's fitted with high connect.
Perfect. Another question, what is the added weight for the tilting fork?
Yeah, so that's a good question. The tilting forks weigh about 500 pounds, but the way the machine's configured, that doesn't reduce your capacity. So you still are able to maintain 5,500 pounds of lifting capacity with those forks on there.
Okay, and that, oops, one more just popped in. Have we changed the seat switch since they are going bad in a year or less?
Yeah, we actually have. So I'm sure that question came from somebody rather technical that has some experience with our first versions of this system. But yes, we've changed the seat switch, and we've also offered we're also offering a connector that's sealed. So the failures we're having to do with corrosion. From what I understand. So, if we can keep the water out of that seat switch, the better for us.
Awesome. Okay, that looks like you've gotten through all the questions, so thank you for answering those. And on behalf of AWCI, we'd like to thank everyone for joining us on today's AWCI Convention and Intex Expo Reconstructed. As a reminder, this solution showcase was recorded and you'll receive a link to AWCI's online program library following the conclusion of today's broadcast. Thank you, Tony Danicky, for sharing your knowledge of HIAB with us on the MOFFETT truck-mounted forklift features. And for everyone, be on the lookout for emails with details for upcoming AWCI's convention and Intex Expo reconstruction events over the next several weeks. So thank you, everyone. Have a productive day and stay healthy out there. Thank you.
Thank you very much.